Okay, and welcome. The first episode in the new series, or the next episode in the series of the Quarterly Crate 2016. We're back and we're starting with this one by Architectural, which is Rico, and this is the 7th release on his label. I can't remember if they're all 10 inches. Maybe they are. I don't have all of them. I'm pretty sure I have a couple, must have a few of the early ones. I don't remember them all being 10 inches, but maybe they are. Although it would seem like it should be something that I should remember. But anyway, Rico's kind of been going for this sound for a while. If you listen back to the synths that he's been using in some of his, I guess on some of the stuff on Mental Disorder from maybe 5-6 years ago, he was definitely going in this direction. And actually, this is probably even slightly tougher for the architectural stuff. But I find that it's a similar sound palette to that of Surgeon, but it's something he's developed himself over time, and especially on the flip side, which is a little bit more restrained. And for me, is the stuff by Rico or by Architectural that I'm really enjoying. It's just a little bit more atmospheric, a little bit more grainy, a little bit more dreamy even. There's stuff kind of popping in the background and just slowly building up. This is Architectural number 7. Some of you may remember on the last Quarterly Crate, played his album, which is out on Wolf School. So this one came out, I think, roughly at the same time, or maybe a little bit after, I can't remember. Always a prolific producer, Rico. And he's rarely had any bad records. Definitely at the beginning of his career, he put out a lot of similar records. But if you go back to any of those, all of them in their own right were exceptionally good. I think even some of them are pretty hard to come by now. If you can get your hands on Emergence 5 on Grotskoppa, aka Rivet, on his label, which was a great label at the time. If you can get Emergence 5, probably the best, well, my favourite Rico record anyway. Very nice how that one develops, actually. So now, moving on. A recent one. This one is by Umek, under his Zeta Reticula moniker, which he brought back recently. Now the thing about some of these tracks is obviously it's going back to the kind of electro stuff that he used to make on Electrics back in the day, or back in the early 2000s. Not all of them are great. Not all of the tracks he's putting out on these are great. But it is worth going through all these records. Like on some of the first ones that which I think I played on this before, they were like 2 trackers. Now they're turning into 4 trackers. Now again, I haven't heard anything really remarkable, or you haven't heard anything completely remarkable on this yet, but it's the inside cut here that is the one. A little bit slower, far more classic sounding, and it just shows, it just shows there's always a way to return for the good guys. Umek was one of the best producers in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was making exceptional techno, was making really good electro, very good dub techno. And then he kind of moved into other areas and became, I guess, more of a pop star in Slovenia. And yeah, then we didn't hear from him for a while. At least not with making the kind of stuff you'd like him to make. But he's coming back and he's putting out these Zeta Reticula records on his own label, which I think is 1605. It's not on this cover there, but yeah, I think it's 1605 or 1605 therapy or something. Is that the name of it? 1605. Where am I getting the therapy from? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, so really it was that inside cut by him. Now moving on. Now this one is let's take it out a bit. Haroon Mirza is the guy's name here, and he's done a bunch of lock grooves, which you don't see as much of anymore. There used to be lots of they're actually sometimes hard to catch, some of these. Some of them are quite kind of noisy, and then others are kind of a little bit more lo-fi. But he's done a ton of these anyway, of all kind of, some are a little bit, almost like they're kind of EQ'd down a little bit, and then there's other ones that are far more harsh. And obviously these are just loops that loop over on themselves, that play at 133.3333 BPM. And you can just loop them up, and they'll just play like that all the time. So they're handy on a third deck. Some of them are just sounds rather than actual drum loops. But there's a nice range of stuff actually on this. I haven't heard of this guy, Haroon Mirza. But he makes some nice noise. I won't go through all of them, but you can take it from me. There's some really nice drum loops on that one as well. And actually, it's a double pack, but they're both the same record. So you're encouraged to mix some of the same loops with each other. And yeah, maybe if I can get it back into its cover there. And that's a really, really useful record. I'm kind of glad there's a few more of those coming out. That's Tesla and Truss's label, Poly Kicks. The unmistakable sound of Regis. Oh no, I mean Sleeparchive. And I don't think Sleeparchive makes any bones about it. He is straight up trying to make 90s Regis stuff. This one sounds a little bit more like Stanislav Tolkachev, who himself often tries to sound like Regis as well. But yeah, good solid heavy techno fare from him. And usually he puts out his strongest material on his own label. These are quite loopy. There's not massive changes happening in them. I guess the only real change that happens in this one is that there's a little breakdown or two. Yeah, but certainly a lot of bass pressure there, and it's one really big characteristic of Roger's music, of his techno, of how heavy his tracks hit on the sound system. Really a lot of raw bass power there. This is on a label from Vienna called Bare Hands, which is on the harder techno tip, but has a little bit of that kind of warped bass line action going on that kind of reminds me a little bit of the old Brighton, Edinburgh techno sound, the kind of stuff that maybe Dave Tarita and Neil Landstrom and those kind of guys did. Yeah, not sure about that one so much. Quite like that. It is only really it's that bit. Yeah, kind of repeats itself, that track. This seems to be the pick of the tracks on it. And this is by an artist called Bedlam. kind of doomier vibe on this. And there's like a postcard that it comes with, it at least. A numbered postcard of 300. I have to say, one good thing about having a bit of a break between each of the episodes of the Quarterly Crate is that you do, you know, and also getting so many records as well. You do begin to question your own buying habits and stuff as well. Obviously, I'm buying quite a lot of records, and I'm playing most of them on this, but it does make you. It did this time make me kind of go, well, maybe there's certain types of records that I'm getting too many of, you know. So sometimes there isn't always the variety out there that I would like, but there's a lot of solid techno coming out. This one is the JoeFarr remix of Ansome, and this is on his Coffin Dodge EP, which is like a 6-track double pack that has 4 tracks by him, and then has remixes by Joe and by Perc as well. Ansome's on a real roll at the moment. Didn't get his album yet. I know I played the single on it in the last show. Didn't get his album yet. Should have it in the coming days, so try and play it on the next show. But this was the precursor to that, I suppose, which was this double pack on them Records, who also run some parties, some good parties in London. Okay, I'm moving on then onto the next, which is the Perc remix. So some sharp, jagged beats and rhythms from Ali. Pretty thundering stuff there from him. Yeah, and I think it's we're not sleeping on this double pack actually, because even for the remixes alone, I think Joe and Ali have done 2 fairly solid remixes, which definitely add to the whole thing. And Ansome doing lots of his good rolling techno as well. Some longer kind of breakdowns. Was that all the breakdown there? Pretty much. Then kind of comes back in with one kick drum. Yeah. So and props also to whoever designed the cover as well, because it looks pretty slick. Always nice to have nice skeletons and skulls like that. Now moving on. Now this is one, and I don't often do this, but sometimes I miss records, and I don't get them on here as quickly as I would have liked. And this was one that came out last year, and it's called Replicants, and it's on Inner Surface Music. And yeah, for some reason I didn't get it when it came out, and it was one of those ones in the back of my head. I need to get that. I knew I wanted to play it on the show, so that's Sleeparchive doing his kind of hard bleepy stuff. Then OH, which is Haroon from Testy and from Orphx as well, or from one of the guy from the male half of Orphx. So I'm actually wondering, is Orphx 2 people now, or is it just him? I'm not too sure. It was him and his wife, I think. But they actually played over here one time at a festival called She Bean Festival, and the 2 of them played there that night. But I think that collab is between just the male half of Orphx and Haroon from Testy, the old Canadian techno group. This one is by Honzo. Oh no, this one is by Perc actually. Pretty slamming one. And the next one is by Honzo, which is David Carboni, Decarbone. Now, it's very slow there, so I don't know. Are we just meant to put it up to 45? If we do, it sounds like Johannes Heil from 1998 or something. But if we slow it down, is that the way it's meant to be? I think it sounds better at 45, actually. So yeah, all pretty threatening kind of techno stuff here. No room for happiness whatsoever on the first disc. Anyway, let's move on to the second, and Gaja. Who's an Italian producer also. It's nice. A lot of his stuff can be quite loopy. It's, I have to say, maybe not my favourite track by him. Takaaki Itoh, whose tunes have become a little bit more layered or atmospheric or something. I don't know, over the last 5 years. Sounds has changed a little bit, but all in all, it's a pretty brutal offering. Here is Ontal's offering, which has a little bit of raviness lurking in there. Ontal are on an absolute roll at the moment, putting out loads of stuff. I gotta say, sometimes when acts that I like start releasing a lot of stuff, I do kind of worry that they might kind of punch themselves out, or just, you know, it's not always great to be releasing so much music. But I think the quality hasn't really suffered. So here's one now. It was done as the PT edits or edit 1 or something like this. Originally it came out without the names of the producers on it, but it's actually Perc and Truss doing edits or their own remakes of a couple of old rave/techno classics. So they're Klang, they're Familia by Three Phase there, an old Berlin trance techno classic, and then this one is Anastasia T99. Yeah, both very heavy and in your face versions of those. Job well done by the pair. Yeah, I've heard them play both of those actually. They sound really good out. Now let's move on. Here's one by Bodyjack. Now Bodyjack, some of you might know, is a UK producer called Chris Fink. And he's been doing stuff under the name Heat, which I quite like. It's good club techno, but I'm starting to sway a little bit more towards his Bodyjack stuff, which is a little bit funkier, a little bit more club friendly as well. I think it could definitely cross over to maybe a wider kind of crowd potentially in the clubs. But yeah, I like what he's doing with this stuff. Like, in ways it sounds really like stuff of the early 2000s or late 90s, the kind of stuff like Tony Thomas would have brought out on Red Frame or labels like that. It's a real kind of prime distribution type of records, but you know, I like those records and they're really good for mixing with too. This has a little bit of a kind of an Oliver Ho. This is probably the more unique out of the tracks actually, because it kind of goes into where are we? It's got a little bit of that tribal edge. Where are we now? mixture between the in the drum programming there as well. It's kind of almost got a little bit of a dubstep style snare that's coming in and out there. And a little bit of that chanting that kind of typified a lot of the early 2000s techno, a la remanipulated or the manipulated remix by Adam Beyer of Ben Sims that was on Primate, or even Thomas and the Filterheads, Sunshine. Not too sure where he got that one from. Maybe he cut it out of something from back then, or found another source for the sample. Yeah, but I'm liking the Bodyjack stuff because it's just good club music, and not overly serious and nice to mix with. The bass is really well defined, and I just like these tracks. I like these kind of ones as little bridges in my sets and stuff. I just like people that make dance music, not purely just hell for leather, distorted techno. And there's certainly plenty of good stuff like that around, but I like some of these kind of records too. Yeah, good little kind of shuffle off of that one. Now here is one by another really good producer of the moment, Vernon Felicity, aka Conforce. This one is as Vernon Felicity. Nice acidy stuff. This is on Delft, which is Ambivalence label, and he goes under an alias L4A as well on this. I think the first acid track on the other side is my pick anyway. So I'm not too sure how quickly I'm getting through these records sometimes. I always think I'm doing it relatively quick, and then every episode of this ends up turning into a more epic length than the last. This one is by Mesak, I think is how I say it, who's done stuff on this label before, which is Klakson, which I've played stuff on before. And they kind of have their own brand of electro, this label. Now, is this one the Mono Junk remix? Let's see. So yeah, that would appear to be the Mono Junk remix on the A. Yeah, some of the stuff on Klakson, it can be kind of like deeper electro or slightly quirkier as well, especially when Dexter does something on it. Well, maybe that's even a little bit more techno-y, that one. Yes, it is. But an electro label at heart is Klakson. Yeah, a little bit closer to the kind of classic style of that label. A little bit pacier as well. So that's Mesak on Klakson. And let me see what's next up. Yeah, this is Videohead and Dead Sound. Or is it Dead Sound and Videohead? It's Dead Sound and Videohead. And actually there's something interesting in this. It comes with this, which I haven't opened yet. Don't know if the camera can pick me up now, but we'll see. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, right, so it's got the track list and it's got a bit of that. It's got a ticket here as well, which will... Oh right, okay, which you can get there's a download code there which you can get the digital with, and then there's a little kind of paper insert, but that folds up, which is quite nice, almost like a little mini poster actually. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's all sorts of things now that are coming with records as inserts and various little bits and pieces that now come with records, like stickers and stuff as well, which which weren't always as commonplace. Yeah, and Dead Sound and Videohead have done stuff on Perc tracks. They've done stuff on Rebecca's label Decoy. They've done stuff on DSNT as well. Now I'm not too sure which, because there's a remix on this, I think. Let me see. Oh, maybe there's not. Yeah. Is this the B-side? No, it's on the other side actually. So both of these tracks are by Dead Sound and Videohead, who have a really nice style of broken techno that they do. I think they're both from Manchester. This one is by Orphx, who we were talking about there a little while ago. Steppy kind of version, which is really good. Uses a couple of vocals, which I'm not sure, maybe they came from the original. Yeah. A lot of pressure there behind that. Could use a distortion as well here and there. Yeah, pretty mean offering there overall, and nice harder industrial kind of record from them. Here's somebody who has been putting out records again, and putting out some great ones at that. This is probably my favourite from his new label, Turnesque. This one is by Bedlam. This is the third one. And this one is called Say What You Want to Say. It's not actually the name of the EP. The EP is called Communicat 1022. And a lot of them are the original buzz of the label were to do pure recordings just with his modular. So maybe some of the tracks are a little bit more bare than some of the stuff that he's done in the past. Maybe not overly programmed, recorded, and then maybe I'm not too sure what kind of editing and stuff he's doing on them after. But certainly there's less. They're more modular based and maybe a little bit more stripped back, I guess. But some of the sounds he's getting are really nice. Yeah, there's a lot more atmosphere actually in this one now. It's similar maybe to one of the tracks from the last one, although possibly not. I think each of these are getting better each time. This is definitely my favourite. This is the third one. Yeah, nice atmosphere going over that. Now, I think my favourite is this one, and this is where you kind of hear the sort of classic Bedlam. That clank, and he's always had a good knack or a good habit of zoning in on some of his drum sounds and really EQing or pushing them and really pushing them up there in the mix. I played this one out actually on Friday, and it really filled up the room instantly when that kicked in. He's someone that really understands how to get the most out of sound systems, sometimes just purely through one sound. Kind of turns into another tune now. I think even for the clanking alone, that tune is my favourite. But I think overall it's a strong one. A little bit for everyone, I think, on this. That's a little bit more straight ahead, actually, this one. And And I think even production-wise, it sounds a little bit sharper or a bit more DJ-friendly than perhaps the first one was, for instance. A couple of these are going for the juggler a little bit more, I think, perhaps than the first one. Yeah, really nice atmosphere in these, actually. And it's funny, sometimes I do flick through a lot of these tracks. I think with techno or with functional club techno and stuff, it's you'll generally just flick through them, but there is a lot of club techno or techno around now that it is good listening music as well. I can't say I've always been able to say that about upfront club music or music that works in a club environment, but there is certainly a lot more techno records now that just sound good to listen to as well. That might sound a little bit strange, but yeah. Okay, so that's the new one from Blauen on his label Turn-esque. Let me see, going on to next. No. Here's one on. Here is one on. What's the name? Granulars is the name of this label. This is by a producer called Kessel, who is, I believe, is one half of Exium, actually, who is firing out a lot of stuff at the moment. Some of it has that real kind of late 90s. It kind of, if any of you know of Gaetano Parisio, a lot of his stuff sounded a bit like that. Okay, a little bit Regisy there. But I guess Regis doesn't own that sound. Other people can do it too. But yeah, nice job of it there. Yeah, a good solid 4-tracker from him, and that's on Granulars. Here is another one on Borft Records, which I think we played earlier on last year. We played something on the label. A little bit of a different vibe now in this, obviously. I don't know if you can see that little kind of truck, or what is it? What do you call those things again? It's not a combine harvester. What is that? A tractor, yeah. Oh yeah, a tractor, yeah, a tractor. Yeah, I was all covered up. I couldn't see what it was, obviously. Yeah, a tractor indeed. Reminds me a little bit of the old Holzplatten records, if any of you remember those. Don't sound quite like the Holzplatten records, although Holzplatten were, some of them were viciously hard, and then other ones, certainly some of the early ones then too, were kind of, could be a lot more restrained. This one's a little bit different now. I think this is on Borft, which is a Swedish label, I think. Slower kind of stuff. This one has a right amount of menace about it. I really like this one. It's by a guy called John Doppler. Lower tempo, and again I do have some of these pitched up a little bit, so actually a lot of the records I should probably pitch them down, but maybe it's not so bad having them pitched up. There's something about the artwork actually reminds me a little bit of a label called Beat Disaster. I don't know if anyone remembers that. I think it was Eric Sneo's label, which I wasn't really a huge fan of, but it's something that you used to see a lot in record shops because there was a lot out on that label. So a little bit of a mishmash of styles there. Now we're going to go on to something that's probably not so much a mishmash, but rather a bit of a thundering assault here. And this is on Haunter Records, and it's by an act called Cage Suburbia. And and yeah, it's on Haunter Records, who are from Milan. And I got this. One of the chaps actually works in Serendipity Records in Milan, where I got this in January. And then the other fellow that runs the label was at the gig the night before as well. So yeah, nice crew there in Milan, and good to see them putting out records like this. Pretty slamming distorted stuff there. Yeah, there's one with a little bit of an old school kind of break on the other side. Not this one, but I think this one. Yeah, you can just about make the breakbeat out in it. It's so distorted actually, that track. But yeah, here we go now. Drax actually. But yeah, pretty fierce offering that one on Haunter Records. This one is by Thomas Heckman, who is firing out a lot of stuff, old stuff and new. A lot of these sound like old tracks. Acid Seduction too. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Maybe they are all old ones. I don't know them. I think that's the one I'm playing the most. And that's on AFU Limited. Here's one on Solar One Music, which has the Exaltics, Helena Hauff, Perseus Tracks, Drug Culture and Ekman. Yeah, they're all good tracks actually. I think this is the one I'm playing the most, which is by the Exaltics, which is called Do I Have to Repeat Myself? Yeah, it's got a bit of that going on, which never does any harm. Then moving on, this is the Helena Hauff one, which is a fairly angry offering as well. Sounded in the mood there anyway. Good one by her. It's the Perseus Tracks one, which, even though it's kind of heavy in its own way, sounds like a lullaby compared to the first two. Yeah, it's a nice one. Sometimes when you have these kind of various artist comps, especially when they're good ones, you can kind of overlook other good tracks on them because you just end up playing the one you like the most. But I think overall all the tracks are quite strong. It's a Drug Culture one. And Heckman there, yeah, following a kind of an age-old formula of acid techno, but one that still works and is still popular. This one is by Dietrich Schoenmann, and this is on Corner Records, which is Anthony Parasol's label, who've been putting out some really solid, good New York techno records. All of the releases appear to be coming from people from New York. Some of the people well, actually Tom DiCiccio did he did a record on it. But in general, most of them I think seem to be by New York producers or by American producers. Dietrich Schoenmann, these are old tracks by Dietrich Schoenmann, but they're remasters. Dietrich Schoenmann is kind of a jack of all trades in the New York techno scene. Besides his being known for his productions and whatnot, he also masters records, masters tracks, runs his own distribution company. But certainly he first rose to fame in the New York techno scene through his records, which were coming out from the mid-90s onwards. on various labels. I'm trying to. Now these are old tracks, I think, as I said, remastered. The one I've been playing mostly is this one. Yeah, nice, a good one for a kind of warehouse type space. It really, it just sounds really good and full. Not too much going on in it, but just a lot of urgency to the track. I guess the fact is relatively fast as well, I think. Playing it now +4. Makes it sound quite forceful, but yeah, lovely amount of bass in there as well. But yeah, Dietrich Schoeman, some of you might remember him from the stuff he did in later years on Hidden Agenda. Well, that would have started towards the end of the 90s, but would have gone. I don't know if it's still going. I think it's finished as a label now. But he would have done stuff with Tony Rohr, originally as Side 3, but I think they had to change their name to Side 4 in the end. But some of their collaborations were brilliant, and in a lot of ways, I think the stuff they were doing and the stuff Tony was doing, it was really pushing the envelope at the time. Up to the kind of mid 2000s before the minimal thing kind of took over. And in fairness, Hidden Agenda remained to be a good label, but maybe kind of got a little bit eaten up by that whole time. Remains was another good label too, but Dietrich's done stuff on Tension, he's done stuff on Sonic Groove and on various labels really. Yeah, but nice to see that one out. What's next? This one is one on Krill Music. Yeah, and actually thanks. I've a lot of fair few on Krill Music, but yeah, thanks Stefan Vincent, who gave me this actually. Thanks for that, Stefan, who actually also played a really good set that night in Amsterdam. He played the opening set, and it's not too many DJs that I see that can play really good opening sets, who know how to build it up and set the tone in a room. But no doubt he can bang it well as well. But you know, it's always a good skill when a DJ can open the room and set the tone perfectly for the night, and he definitely did that night. This one is by Platform. It's got a plus sign in front of it. Then this one is the Stefan Vincent one. Kind of a jacking bleepy kind of thing going on there. And then on the flip is Stanislav Tolkachev. Yeah. Gotta say, and I'm sorry, but it does absolutely nothing for me. It's funny with Stanislav Tolkachev. Some of his stuff is brilliant. Other stuff, I suppose, like a lot of producers, I think it's just that he releases an awful lot of stuff. And yeah, I like some of it. I don't like all of it. I didn't think that was really his strongest track. Digging the other ones a little bit more on it, I have to say, including this IY one. In it, but has a little bit more, at least a little bit more percussion in it. Stanislav's track. Okay, so that's one on Krill Music. And now time to go into a little bit of Pain from Whirling Hall of Knives. Whirling Hall of Knives, of course, being Magnetize and The Last Sound, who've done a lot of stuff on their own label, Transmat. They had a record out on Earwiggle a year or two ago, and now they've got this one on Candela Rising, Billy Allen's label from London. Probably the more dance floory of the Whirling Hall of Knives tracks. Still very overdriven. And then this one is the Talker remix, which also has its own healthy amount of anger going on there as well. That's the Talker is Carl Meyer and Stave as well, who some of you might know from their Stave's done stuff on Downwards, and Carl Meyer has also done stuff with Sandwell District, actually. So close links to Carl O'Connor and co there. This one is by Developer. I'm trying to see, are there any remixes on this? I don't think so. Pretty straight ahead functional stuff. Yeah. Should be on Modulars as well. He seems to put out most of his stuff on that. Another prolific producer. This one is by. Now I'm not starting on the A1. I'm just going to start randomly there. But this one is by Final Cut, which is Jeff Mills and another guy, Anthony something or other. I forget his name. But this was their original album from 1989, which recently got reissued. And it's pretty serious, to be honest. You know, it loosely gets put into the industrial bracket, but really sounds fairly techno-y to my ears. The kind of rave techno of that era. And I'm not scared to grab a sample here and there, but really it's a great opportunity to get this, and I'd imagine it's probably remastered in some shape or form, re-releasing it. Yeah, I knew of this release, but I never had it, so it's a nice one to be able to get. Sounding a little bit more of the I guess Front 242 or other industrial acts of the time in that kind of style, but certainly to me it sounds a little bit more techno-y than industrial, but overall a little bit of a mixture, I guess. That track maybe a bit more industrial, I guess, but overall it veers a little bit more towards the dance floor. Sorry, had that one on already. Actually, not a million miles away from the kind of stuff CJ Boland's might have put out. There's a nice range really on this. Yeah, you can definitely hear the Jeff Mills influence in there. You can definitely relate that or connect it to to the stuff that he would later do, waveform transmission and all those kind of releases. Sonic Destroyer even, there's definite similarities in one or two of those tracks. So moving on, we've got Peter Van Hoosen. This one is on Time to Express. Again, a very nice cover, and he's doing a lot of this, releasing series of records, all two-siders, two trackers. He did SPX, he did 3 records by him that were all 2 trackers, and now appears to have done 3 of them himself as well. Nice evolving atmosphere on that, and then just more the banger of the release. And then a little bit more broken. Someone actually putting in some notes. Definite alternative to the more straight aheads banger on the other side. More broken rhythms, and like I said, somebody actually programming some lingering notes there as well. Yeah, kind of goes into another. Oh yeah, here we go again. Yeah. The intro, or for the outro. So that one's Peter Van Hoosen on Time to Express. And now this one is on Monya's label. Which is called Corresponding Positions. And it's remixes of Monya by a few different people. By Rebecca, fairly straight ahead, Jeff Mills influence track, perhaps. Yeah, there is. Sorry, going back, there is a lot of this type of track. Well, yeah, I definitely like the pump off that kick drum. Goes through nicely on a sound system. We're going back to this one. Let's see who this is by. This one is by Electric Indigo. Be a nice little kind of bridging track. A little more restrained than some of the other ones on this. This is the original by Monya herself. And then Annie Hall then, the other remix on it. Yeah, all the tracks really do their own thing, and that's the interesting thing when you have a remix EP sometimes. 4 different producers all doing their thing. It's not like if you have 4 individual tracks, you can always ask a producer for another track. But when somebody's done a remix, it's and they finish it and they're happy with it, more than likely the label goes with it. And in a lot of cases, you have quite mixed results. But here, I think everyone's done a really good job actually. A varied hard techno harder techno EP. So that's on corresponding positions. Let's go through. Oh yeah, here's one. Yeah, thanks to Steve for this. This is Adapter. This is a forthcoming one that he's done on Frustrated Funk. Yeah, nice amount of raviness in this one. This is the one. Yeah, Tapta used to be was one half of Bitstream. Him and his brother, I think, were Bitstream, but he's been doing his own label, Brutalist Sunset, for a few years. I think this could be his first release outside of Brutalist Sunset under the Adapter name, and he's picked a good label to do it on. Frustrated Funk are an exceptional electro label. Well, a couple of kind of techno-y ones in here too. Smooth filtering going on in this. Yeah, I just love his sound, really. One of my favourites. Okay, going on to the other side. More electro styles. And a big kind of zap on top of the kick drum there. It's a nice clunking kind of one. Still with a bit of raviness lurking there. Let's go. Yeah, we'll go. This is one now. It's on this polybias tracks. Gotta say, there was two of them that came out at once, and I missed one of them. This was the other one. It's the Mark Archer tune, Alternate, who actually has a book coming out soon. Saw there recently about his whole about his career and the whole story of Alternate and whatnot. No doubt be worth picking up. So that's what I like about Mark Archer as well. Although he's best known for Alternate, he isn't only, what would you say, he isn't resting on his laurels. He's still putting out new tracks under his own name, and as well as doing the Alternate shows and whatnot. And this one is by Andreas Gem. Acidy thing. Quite a lo-fi kind of acidy thing there. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. We need to see who the perpetrator of that is now. It's BTMA, who actually had a killer one on one, as far as I remember, on one of the early polybias tracks, which did border on maybe slightly cheesy Euro-ish kind of buzz, but I think he's gone the whole hog here, and oh, Jesus. Sorry, man, but this is not positive. Yeah. Okay, it kind of brings it back a bit there, but no, sorry. No. This is... Yeah. Okay, so that came back in and all the rest, but in general, no. Not a bad record though overall, and he or she is a good. Have heard a good tune by them before, but that one's a bit suspect. Now this one is by Albert van Ab, and he's doing this series of records. He was doing No Comment, and he also goes under the name of Data Smoke or Data Smoke. But these are all under his own name, and the label is called Van Ab. Which is club techno, but maybe slightly more musical. Other side. It's kind of rattling percussion on these tracks, which I like. Nice that he's kind of doing a broken track here. I think it's something I mentioned earlier in the first series. It's just how maybe sometimes people waste a record by just only doing, 4 bangers, 4 straight aheads tunes. It's nice when people kind of vary the beats on their records. Similar sounds to the other side. Like I said, maybe more kind of rattling, broken beats on it, which are nice addition here. And then a kind of more soothing, beatless track here. Right, so that's by Albert van Ab. That's the third one on his label. And shout out to Albert as well. Nice one, man. Now this one is by JoeFarr. This one's called Coping. This is on Block, and Block Weekends was on not so long ago, about a month ago. And Joe played 2 sets of that actually, and I saw both of them. I saw parts of both of them. I don't think there's many people that manage to see the full parts of everybody's set at something like a festival or Block. It's one of the only places you can be where, the biggest names in techno, where like Jeff Mills can be upstairs and you decide to stay down and have a drink with someone at a table. Instead, there's a whole different dynamic to festivals as opposed to normal club events. But yeah, Joe did a live set with his brother-in-law. They go under the name of Liar, which was really good. His brother kind of does live drums, and Joe does the electronics part, and it really works. They kind of stop in between each track, so each track is like a full-on performance. Then they go on to the next tune, and maybe a little bit similar to how a band would do it. Now going on to the other, there's quite a mixture here. Joe's obviously known for his harder techno and stuff, but overall the album, this is probably one of the other bangers on it as well, actually. But overall, it's not as distorted and filthy as some of his other stuff. But a really nice range of sounds on this. Joe also DJ'd at it. Actually, only about half an hour after he finished his live set, so props to him for doing that. He finished his set and then ran over to another stage to play his DJ set. Okay, now moving on into the other disc, which is actually the first side, which I should have really started with, similar to the Final Cut release, but yeah, makes no odds. Yeah, this is the first side, B side. So yeah, another side to JoeFarr. Definitely the softer end of what he does, but certainly nice tracks to make up an album with. Not too sure if it's available on CD or not, but it could certainly be could be good for that. A nice one for the car, perhaps. Certainly enough tracks to play out as well. Yeah, Joe fires out a lot of 12 inches, but I think for this album he's certainly thought of it and approached it a little bit more like perhaps the way an album should be approached, which is to show a range or to go on a little bit of a journey. Textures and rhythms there. Yeah, one thing about Joe is he never really does exactly what you think he's going to do. Every release, there's always new little sides to his production. Now, I should know who did all of these tracks. I don't, but this is the first one on Jerry Tracks, which is like a sub-label of All City here in Dublin. Now, the copy I have doesn't have the sheet with it. There's a sheet or kind of an insert that has a picture of George Best with his eyes kind of blacked out on it. Now, off the top of my head, some of the people that were on this, I think Lumograph was on this, I think Frank B was on this, John Daly was on this, and then some other people as well. And all the tracks are quite good on it, actually. And a nice range of stuff. And in a sense, it's kind of what Old City do really, really well in general. I know this is another label, but in general, Olin has a really open-minded approach to how he releases on All City. Originally known as a hip hop and a beats label or whatever you want to call them, they've moved into all sorts of stuff over the last five or 6 years, especially. Of course, they were, I think, the first label to release Hudson Mohawk on records, and they've released all sorts of producers and releases through the label. But this is a new one, a new label that the guys are doing now. And if you're ever in Dublin, go into All City, buy some records from them. This is probably my favourite one, actually. Not too sure who it's by, but kind of just the sort of African drums there. It's almost like a little mini album, because there's actually 7 tracks on it. There's 7 tracks on the record, and they pressed this in Dublin as well. A few of us have started pressing records in Dublin, and Jerry Tracks. The guys decided to start up their label and press in Dublin, which was part of the buzz. So I think they have a number 2 and number 3 coming soon as well. They're both pressed anyway, as far as I know. This one is by Surgeon. This is on his most recent album. And similar to what we were saying about Blauen earlier, he's doing most of these on his modular. So they're a little bit more like live takes. Perhaps not as detailed as some of the Surgeon out of a computer releases, which is the way he was making music for many years. But in the last few years, he's started to go back the other way. Anyone that's seen him play in a club in the last year or two has certainly seen him incorporate more live elements, the machines to his sets. Still a bit of a distinctive Surgeon sounds to them. Yes, definitely sound a little bit more like jams compared to some of his older stuff. But it's nice to see him going in a new direction. It's funny because I think Surgeon was really setting the bar for techno production before he started to get into his new modular phase. But he's now flipped it, and he's starting to make music in a slightly different way. So really, you've kind of got a different sound for Surgeon. It's not necessarily pushing the envelope in the way that he used to. But he appears to be enjoying making techno an awful lot now, and I think this is maybe this current phase, or how he's been making music in the last year or two, and with Blauen as well, because they obviously work together sometimes as well. I think it's really pushing him on to just put music out again, and it's the first album in quite some time as well. He had another album out recently as well, under his own name, Anthony Child at least. Kind of got a little bit of that EBM kind of twang off it. It's probably my favourite of them, actually. Dare I say, the last track sounded a little bit Paul Burkeny, who of course is a modular master. And to be honest, it needs to be said, you know, this is a really good release, and I like it. You know, credit has to be given to people like Paul Burken, who've been pushing that kind of raw sound of modular techno for many, many years, and who perhaps some of the newer wave of people who are trying out their modulars and stuff now have a lot of catching up to do with. Paul is, although we don't have anything by him on this particular show, but he's certainly someone whose influence I'm hearing a lot now on various techno producers, which is great. I'm not saying that's the case with Tony. He just follows his own way, but certainly you can hear some similarities in one of the tracks on that. This is one by Stanislav Tolkachev, another one who, like I said, wasn't so keen on his track on the Krill music one, but the A-side tracks on this I think are really good. That's the thing with him. I think sometimes he puts out a lot of tracks and a lot of them sound very similar. And I'm always listening out for the one that doesn't sound as similar. And to me, this is a little bit, a little bit different actually. Kind of reminds me a little bit of old Chancellor stuff, or maybe even like the kind of stuff Robert Hood used to do. And nice that there's just a little bit of high-end percussion on there. A lot of his tracks have been coming out with being like one sequence and a kick drum, which is fine, but I think this one might be a little bit more useful for DJing with as well. This one, I think this was possibly my favourite off it actually. Again, it doesn't do a lot, but it's got just a lot of pressure there, a lot of sound pressure there. He doesn't bring the kick drum back in there, but it's not the end of the world. Right, this one is by Pacific Command. Who I don't know much about actually. Slightly dreamier sort of soundscape there, and then a kind of broken track on the other side. I was talking a little bit about this earlier as well, just about how there's a lot of kind of European techno records that are like this at the moment, possibly coming out of Belgium and Holland more so, that go for the straight banger, and then the kind of broken rhythms, if you want to say, more UK influenced broken one on the flip. You could argue that it gives a little bit more value for money, perhaps. Nice break there. Slightly more Detroit influenced. Now moving on. Here is one by Mike Dennert. Oh shit, got slightly scratched. I don't know what happens when you play records. So he tends to have these kind of catchy little hooks. A lot of his tracks can be quite loopy, but they're very well reduced. They just kind of hook you straight in, really. Has nice little vocals that he takes from places. Maybe he's recording himself. I don't know, but wherever he gets them from, they and whatever way he edits them and loops them up, they sound. They just do what they have to. Like this one as well. This is my favourite actually. This is the one I've been playing a little bit of. This one isn't as loopy. It kind of actually goes somewhere. Do like loopy tracks for DJing with, but it is nice when you have something that actually moves somewhere. And this one is on Clone Basement Series, which in fairness to them is one of the best labels around at the moment. So there's that one there. Now this one. This one is by Unknown Entity. who it is, but it's pretty good. The one on the B-side one there was by, or the B2, the inside cut was an Ingen remix. I'm not too sure how to say his name. Yeah, but overall really nice kind of slightly steppier kind of techno alongside there. And then a nice other one, and then remix on the other side as I just played. Yeah, maybe not a million miles away from Kamikaze Space Program. Definitely for fans of the Blauen Randomer Kamikaze Space Program. Crew. Or something. Now, next up is this one, and it's by Ritzy Lee, which I've actually been playing a lot. Probably might even look a bit battered at this stage. No, it's alright, I think. This is the tune I've been playing a bit. I forget the name of it. Ritzy Lee is a really good producer, actually. I do find that some of his stuff, especially this one as well, it sounds very like old Planetary Assault System stuff. Pretty sure there's an old Coad Warrior track by Planetary Assault Systems that sounds very, very, very like this one. But who cares? I think Ritzy Lee does a really good job of doing Planetary Assault Systems type stuff, of the kind of early 2000s style that he did. Yeah, really nice. Moving on. Yeah, this one's a different style now to that. More heads down again. Yeah, that's on Beck Audio. The main track that I was liking off that's called Intrusive. Here is one by Sev Da, who is a Swedish producer who's doing really nice acidy stuff on this. He first came to prominence doing stuff on Naked Index, which is like a sub-label of Frozen Border, but he's appeared on quite a few other labels since then. This is kind of like a bubbling acids track. It just keeps going. Nice job by him. And then the other side, a little bit of a beatless thing, and then a kind of a bleepy techno thing, which isn't bad, but I think the acid track still quite playable. I think I played that one too, but the acid track I think is where it is on that, and that's on a label. What label is that on? Proletariat. I'm sure I don't have the pronunciation of that right. Here is one that has a bit of a mark that looks like a bit of Easter egg, actually, possibly. That could have fallen on that. So I was actually eating an Easter egg there the other day, and possibly a bit of that Easter egg fell onto this Unbelt record. But it doesn't affect the play. This is an electro one by Unbelt, who is at long last getting his dues. He's always been a favourite producer of mine since I first heard his stuff on Satamile, or Satimale as the label owner of that used to call it. But yeah, one of the top guys from France is Unbelt, and this is on his label Rave or Die, which is a newish label that he set up, putting out 10 inches, him on one side and sometimes a guest on the other. Oh yeah, it is usually a guest on the other. This is Chris Moss Acid, who some of you may remember from his brilliant release on Don't before. And yeah. Okay. Yeah, pretty full-on stuff from him. He's got another one coming on Don't soon as well, and he's done stuff on Shipwreck as well. I think a couple of other labels as well. Really good producer. This one is on a newish label called Fossil Archive, which is Roberto's label. On one side you got Voiski. Synth heavy kind of one, and then the other side here is Roberto's track, which is kind of the one I'm going for on this. It's got that sort of basic channel, textured basic channel kind of buzz going on, everything in its right place, hi-hats coming in when you want them to, nice rhythm. Yeah, like of course there are quite a lot of tracks like this that have come out in the past, but when you get a strong one that's well produced and is on a long side like this as well, so it's going to sound a little bit louder and possibly more pumping, so it was welcomed. And yeah, nice one, Roberto. This is the this is the latest one on his label, Fossil Archive. Watch out for that label. Right, so we're going to fly through a few. This is where I kind of think to myself, oh shit, time is getting on, and this could go on forever if I don't start getting through them a little bit faster. But right, this one is by Adam X and Perc. Punishing kick drums there. Squelchiness in there and all sorts of controlled and uncontrolled noises coming in and out of the mix. Nice stuff. And more haunting vocal popping in there as well. Always welcome. Yeah, kind of sounds a little bit more like Adam on this side, and maybe a little bit more like Perc on the other side. Either way, it's a great combo, and they go under the name AX+P. The name of this release is called Mutiny and Disorder. They did have one out a couple of years ago, I think, and this is the second one I think that they've done together. Now, so moving on. To the next is what's this? Oh yeah, NX1. This is their most recent one. I want to speed it up a little bit. This has a kind of an insert with it as well. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Rumbling beats and bass going on there. Nice little sequence on the top as well. Yeah, so that's NX1. It's their 8 release. They have released on a few other labels, I think, too. But this one is purely their own label and own material. More broken rhythm stuff. One's a little bit more straight ahead. Yeah, nice stuff from them. Moving on, here's one. Cute Heels is the producer here, and it's on a label called Kes Kill, which is a new one from Rivet, who we mentioned earlier. used to be known as Grove Scoppa. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit more of an EBM kind of vibe. Not loads happening on that track, but it's a nice sound, fairly well produced. Yeah, I think this is more the one that I've been feeling. It's decent. I have to be honest. It's not like it's far from anything new. It sounds very like the kind of stuff Terence Fixmer used to do, but it's still a slightly different sound that from what's out there and your kind of standard techno releases they're going about at the moment. Be a little bit slower. Here's a couple of guys who are doing something quite different in my opinion. Which is Cesar. Yeah, I think some of Cesar's stuff, it can kind of fly under the radar a little bit, but they still seem like someone whose records sell, I think, and I hope, because there's really a lot to some of their tracks. And for kind of loosely speaking techno producers, I think their production is really it's kind of ahead of a lot of the pack. Sometimes in some of their tracks I kind of feel like they're guys that could make really good hip-hop or R&B, or you know, they've got really good level of production, and their beats are always really well thought out. Strip back this one, not much of a lead in it, and this is on Project 13, I think is the name of the label, and they're from Manchester, I think. Let me double check. Project 13 Manchester, or MCR, yeah, is the label name there. Now moving on quickly to the last one on Broken Toys, which started out purely as an electro label and still mostly is, to be honest. But there's one kind of techno-y one. So let's see who's on this. It's a Microtal, Etcher. On this side it's Junk and Syncum Data. Syncum Data is a little bit more techno-y, more like an acid. It's a kind of acid thing. Let's see on the other side. Yeah, it's all electro there. Kind of like an old school acid thing there as well. And nice to see them not strictly only do electro, even though the slightly less electro tracks here you can still kind of connect with the electro. I've found something the electro labels have done a lot in the past is they've only released electro when it's clear the techno is its close brother or sister, and sometimes it's nice having a little bit of a mixture. So it's good to see that Broken Toys are mixing it up a little bit, but certainly an acid flavour throughout this EP. And yeah, Broken Toys are definitely a label to watch out for. They've been consistently putting good stuff out the last couple of years. This one is on Dixon Avenue Basement Jams. This one's by Casino Royale. I don't actually have the cover, and I tell you what I don't have as well. In the original cover, which is at home, it comes with a kind of a mask of this dog that you can put on. Now I was looking for the mask before I came here today, and I couldn't find it, and I didn't want to get too delayed. I didn't want to have to tell Tim, who's filming this, sorry I got delayed. I was looking for a mask of a dog. Not too sure how well that would go down. It probably wouldn't make much sense to him, but anyway, I couldn't continue to look for that mask and cover for too long. But I have been playing this one. I think was it this tune I was playing? Yeah, this is the one. And be careful of this. If you've got this tune, just be careful of it, because it's kind of got a slightly off kilter drums. And when you're mixing it can give the impression that it's a little bit out of time. It's one of those ones that you can. It's quite hard to make it sound completely in time. And a lot of old Chicago stuff was a little bit like that. But with this, it's only really when you mix it with other tracks that you can kind of hear that the drum sounds slightly out of kilter, slightly swung. But so nice stuff there from Casino Royale. And straight into another basement, Dixon Avenue basement one. Now this one's okay. And a fairly recognizable sample here, which I believe is Candy Staten. This one's really nice actually. Sometimes you can't always edit a track. I wouldn't mind editing part of that bit out, but certainly get good use out of the first half of that track. Actually, hang on, there's one I didn't play on that. What am I doing? Yeah. And by the way, this is a various artist EP. There's Dennis Sulta, there is Fury, there's CT Tracks. Oh, hang on. Yeah, there's CT. Oh, there's two by CT Tracks, yeah. And let me see, what side is this? This is the B side. So both tracks on this side are CT Tracks. And this is the one I'm kind of playing mostly off it at the moment. And then the other side then, Fury was the kind of Candy Staten one, and then Dennis Sultra was the first one on the other side. Yeah, good kind of acids, DJ Tool sort of buzz there. Now, moving on, Crash Course in Science. who have had a fair amount of their stuff reissued. This one's called Jump Over Barrels. Yeah, so you have the original Jump Over Barrels, and then you have the demo, 1981 demo, which sounds virtually the same, which is kind of like a waste of vinyl space, to be honest. It's just like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, this one is the remixes are kind of what makes this record. I do like Crash Course in Science. Can't say I'm overly keen on the originals on this, but the Charles Manier remix here is quite nice. So. Dark entries, kind of more lo-fi, almost like a heavily saturated tape recording. That's on that's the that's an early rehearsal version. So really, it's all about the Charles Manier Manier, I think is how you say, remix on that one on Dark Entries by Crash Course in Science. There's another one on Polykicks. It was out a little while ago by Tesla. It takes a little while to kind of kick in. It does. Yeah, that's where it is. Does mostly the same thing on that. Yeah, I think this was actually my favourite off it. Elephants type noises there. Really nice bass that comes into that as well. For me, that's the kind of winner. That's the winner off that one. On Polykicks by Tesla. Moving on, here's one by Dax J, who's doing exceptionally well recently, and deservedly so. Tends to be kind of ravier edge to some of his stuff, which you heard there. This one's this is the one I'm finding I'm playing more so off this record. It's kind of like an old, sort of like a mid-90s or 1993 style acid track. The kind of the brewing or kind of lurking deep acid there kind of reminds me a little bit of DJ HMC or someone like that. I think this is the kind of the one that is the more well-known tune off us, which is called Wir leben für die Nacht, which I think means we live for the night in German. Yeah, so for me, there's a little bit of a one of these bits as well, which can be handy. So yeah, for me, the the B1 and the A2, which is The Invisible Man, which is the title track on that, one of my favourites. Now, moving on, Voitax. Now, all of these records say Voitax on them, and all of them up to now have been by the Voitax guys, who are from Germany. But this one's actually by Swarm Intelligence, who's a guy from Dublin, Simon Hayes, who is based in Berlin now, has been doing lots of great stuff. He had an album out recently that I played on this last year at some point, maybe in part 3, was it? Episode 3, I can't remember. For him, this is kind of slightly straighter techno, actually. Yeah, certainly a kind of sinister edge to what he's doing there. Definitely my favourite off it. It's been the one I've been playing a little bit. But all the tracks. Sorry. Yeah, good rolling distorted techno kicks there. Yeah, Voitax. That one's by Swarm Intelligence. It doesn't have his name on it, but that's who it's by, and that's their newest release. This one is on Don't Be Afraid, and it's on their sub-label of Don't Be Afraid, Special Editions. I think this is the 5th or 6th in this series. I'll get the producer's name now in a moment. It's on the other side, actually. But yeah, there's been about 5 or 6 out in this series. There was a particularly good Jack Murphy one, actually, that some of you might remember. Now, let's get the name of the producer quickly before we go any further. Traces of Malmacan is the name. This is my favourite. I'll actually go to the other 2, but then I'll go back to what is my favourite off it. Okay, that's okay, that one. Pretty intense, that one. This one reminds me an awful lot of an old Josh Wink record on Ovum, and I can't remember the name of it at the moment. It was one of his it was a later release, like it's not like Higher States of Consciousness era quite. It's a bit later than that. Although then again, it mightn't be too far from it. Oh, I can't remember the name of the track. I have it. I used to play it sometimes, but reminds me a lot of old Josh Wink, actually. Okay, so that's that one. Don't Be Afraid, Special Editions. Now, moving on, here's one on Optimo Tracks, which is the Optimo's label. Now, this was out a while ago, actually. It probably came out maybe just at the beginning of this year. It seems like I've had it in my bag for ages. It was probably one of the first records I got this year. Who knows? Maybe it came out at the end of last year. I don't know. Seems like I've had it for ages. But yeah, it's all about this one. Kind of alternate vibe off it, certainly rave era influenced. That one was the Shan and Gerd Jansen rave mix, who you will have seen on Running Back, and actually Shan, yeah, I should have known there actually, but the original there is by Muslim Gauze. And yeah, that's a split EP. Them on one side, or him or her on one side. I don't know who that producer is. And Undersprek on the other side. Now moving on, here's one by Heiko Lau. who of course runs the quite excellent Cancel Rants label, and who's also done records on another label of his which is called U-Turn, and you may remember him from his offering on Missile many years ago as well, which is where I first heard of him. This is my favourite of it, kind of a slowly building acidy one, which eventually gets a bit more. Yeah, like Heiko Lau, he's really just a little bit of a master. He's someone that we forget about because he doesn't release that often. But yeah, whatever he's been doing the last few years, he hasn't been slacking off if he's still making tunes like this. He has bits out here and there. He had a few remix EPs as well that had a lot of people on them, including Mark Broom and a couple of other people. But this one is on Clockworks, and this is, I suppose, like the original. Maybe the other one I was just playing was like the acid version. This one's a little bit more dreamy, I suppose, for want of a better word. It almost sounds like Rez or Cowgirl by Underworld there, ever so slightly. Nice. It's a pity that the break is so long into the tune. That's something that kind of sometimes messes me up a little bit. I don't have the patience to wait around that long. I guess you can layer it in for a while and then play it, which is sometimes the only way to do it. But sometimes like if the breaks are in there a little bit earlier. This one is by Paul Johnson, and it's got re-released on Shy Wax. And this is an old one that he brought out called The Other Side of Me. I love Paul Johnson stuff. One of my favourite Chicago producers, without doubt. And I always have some of his records in my bag. Same with Robert Armani. It's kind of funny sometimes because you could be playing a track of his and then you're mixing in a Robert Armani tune and you're going, oh shit, these guys are cousins. And it's cool. They both had a great sound anyway. Yeah, maybe this one is The Other Side of Him. Yeah, that's more back to his more well-known style. Of course, Paul Johnson did have one big hit, and I guess he was a bit more on the side of he was more well known in Ibiza for a little while as well. But I think what a lot of diehard or older fans know him for is his more jacking techno and house stuff. Yeah, it's fine. I think the first side was probably where I was at there for me anyway. This one's by The Noisemaker. It's been building up a nice discography. Yeah, I think I probably got it for this one actually. It's more of a acid electro kind of thing. almost. I seem to be placing the needle down at a funny part. It makes the rhythm sound weird. It's hard to hear where the downbeat is. Hang on. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. You can get an idea there. This one now is by VSK and Scala Mariah, I think is how I say his name. Scala Mariah and VSK. This is the Bass Moy remix. It's fairly fierce. It's nice on the sound system. This is one of the originals. By the guys. Reminds me a little bit of the maybe of Radial, actually, the old Radial stuff, not a million miles away. Maybe even that record that Radial did with DJ Boss and Dola Gate. Now this is the original then as well, which is called Haka. This one's on Perc Tracks actually, Perc Tracks Limited. Nice one there. This one is by Neil Landstrom. That's actually his sister on the record as well, on the cover there. No, actually it's not. I don't even know if he has a sister or not, but it's the new one on Zone Records, or the latest one by him on Zone. Actually his first EP on it. And again, it's just sometimes when you say classic Landstrom or vintage Landstrom, it makes it sound like he's doing the same thing all the time, but he is changing. He, like, all his records are a bit different to the next, but he just has a really classic, distinctive Landstrom sounds that just seems to underpin everything he does. One of the best out there by a long way. Suits Zone quite well. It sounds like something that might come out on Gigolo or something like that years ago. I like as well how Landstrom stuff is getting a lot more DJ friendly again, because there was a time where some of his releases, you know, you'd pick one or two out of it and, you know, you could play them, but there'd be others that would really not necessarily aimed at the dance floor for DJs as much. The kick wouldn't be as deft, or wouldn't be standing out in the mix as much, but certainly all of his EPs now have got a lot more dance floory again, which is nice. Wobbly bass there. So yeah, another must-have Landstrom EP. Let's move on now quickly. We're coming close to the end. This one is by Donor, and it's on Prosthetic Pressings. And this is a Sleeparchive remix, which I have to say is probably the pick of the bunch. It's not the only good remix here, but it's probably the one. He's done a few remixes recently, and this could maybe even be the best of them, or one of them. And I've actually released one of his remixes recently, but I think this could be the pick of all the ones he's done recently. Actually, really nice. bass. This one is by Canding Ray, taking a different route. A lot deeper, that one. Who is the other side? I think it's Takaaki Itoh, is it, on the other side? A little bit more of it. Yeah, Takaaki Itoh. It's alright, not his best track necessarily. This one is by Sean O'Sullivan, which is probably the other one on this I'm liking the most. Slightly lower tempo. Moving on now. This one is by a guy, Emmanuel, who we played on this before. This is called Dark Matter. Sounds like he's saying Beyonce there. Is he? See.
Beyonce.
No, maybe not. I don't know. Does it? Yeah, let's just say it does anyway. But actually, that vocal is right at the beginning.
Shut up and dance.
Yeah, the vocal, that little vocal does appear in one or two places. Yeah, he's done a nice job on the inside cut here. I really like Emmanuel's stuff, actually. I think he's a really talented producer. It's a shame that that he kind of came in for criticism that time, putting out that record in Trésor that seemed to lift some passages of, or sample a couple of other producers' work. I don't think he needs to, he doesn't need to do that. I think his tracks are ahead of a lot of the pack at the moment. Okay, kind of shed influenced stuff there, a little bit like the Head High stuff. That's on a new label called Head High, or not Head High, what am I saying? On a new label called Dark Matter, and watch out for that. I think he's going to be putting a lot of stuff out on that. This one is just a straight up Acid 4 tracker. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's called the 303 EP. And yeah, it's just some walloping acids basically, and some Planet Rhythm as well, Glenn Wilson's own label that is now run by the Triple Vision guys. Now this one is by Roman Ponset. Again, kind of more broken beats on this, which make a change from the straight ahead 4/4 stuff. I like that one, I have to say. Like the rhythm. Yeah, it's okay. Kind of standard Euro techno fare. Yeah, I think it's this one. Roman Ponset, I think he's a French producer actually. I don't know too much about him. I think he's released on Trésor. He's popped up in a fair few places over the last few years. Definitely knows what he's doing. Yeah, I think the A1 and B1 for me on that one. that's that. It's moving on. This one on All City, who we were speaking about earlier, this one is by Ansome, who is Ansome, who used to be on on 50 Weapons. The guys were really into his music a few years ago, and they contacted him to get him to do a record, and he created this new moniker called Ansome, which he put a record out on All City a little while later, or whenever he did the first tracks for them, which was a killer record too, as well, has to be said. But yeah, he said of that alias Ansome then, and this is the second release that the guys have put out by him under that name. And then the long side is where it's at here, I think. You might be able to quite hear it there, but there's a lot of sub underneath that. Chopped up sort of vocal that you would have heard on some early acid house records. It certainly would fit into in between a couple of records like that. From him. Now, quickly moving on, Blue Hour. Who I got to meet and play a gig with there recently in Verona. And yeah, someone who's doing a really good job of I'm trying to put my finger on exactly what it sounds like. It kind of sounds like a cross between a few styles of old 90s techno. But yeah, certainly like production-wise, it's really up there. And the other side. This one came out in January. I think it might have been, if you look at the record, it might say 2015 on it, but I think it didn't come out till January in the end. Pretty pounding, but a nice bit of atmosphere laid on top as well. And if you missed the one before that, they had the remixes of him with Answer Code Request one particularly, Steffi and Marcellus. But the Answer Code Request one on that is a little bit of a sleeping anthem, in my opinion. Great record, great track. This one is by Jamie Kernock, and this is an Onset. In fairness to them, they've have really kind of got their own sound as a label. When it comes to that kind of pounding industrial, sometimes slightly steppier style of it too, they're doing it really well. It's a label that Patrick Bolton is also involved in, and JoeFarr as well, and they're based out of Bristol. That was nice to meet the guys at Block as well. One really good thing about Block actually is meeting a lot of people in the scene who you might be in contact with, be it labels or other DJs or other producers, and it's that kind of place where you just meet a lot of them all at once, and yeah, it's nice to meet the guys at that. But yeah, this one is by Jamie Kernock. Keep keeping the standard high on that label. This one is by Stranger. We played one on Mon and Black earlier by the label owner Dax J. This one though is by Stranger, a new addition on the label, who runs the Self-Reflection label, and who's experiencing his own breakthrough recently as well. He's doing really well to releases, and is starting to play an awful lot as well. Almost like an acidic energy flash there, but a broken one on the inside there, and then on the other side, sounds a little bit like Jade for You actually. Used to do vocals on all sorts of old Belgian records. Yeah, and I think one of the things about Stranger is he's really bringing back the old rave and old school feel into his tracks, and his label Self-Reflect as well. You can sort of hear the breakbeat under there. Nice one from him. This one is from Monolake, and a Monolake record is always a welcome addition. I think I've said it before on the show. You don't tend to have to really listen to them. You're usually good to go with one of his. Just get it if you see it. All of his records are great. And they're not all strictly for the dance floor. In fact, I would say a lot of them aren't particularly for the dance floor, are made with DJs in mind. This one doesn't seem to be. I think it's the other one that's a little bit more beat heavy. Definitely going to be able to fit that in between your into techno sets, and alongside electro, besides other kind of broken beat sort of stuff. It's that's what I like about Monolake stuff. It's a nice little added ingredient to play here and there when he does these kind of ones. Oh, it's very rich sounding production. We're nearing the end now, and this is one that came out a while ago. It's by October. Came out towards the end of last year. Again, it's going back to maybe that one by Cute Heels earlier as well. It's kind of like a lot of people that are sounding quite EBM-ish and a little bit like old Terence Fixmer. I think there's a little bit more to this one now. A little bit faster. Reminds me a little bit of DAF. Me out there. like a 45. Yeah, a 45 minus 6 is what that should be played at. Maybe not that one though. Onto the other. That definitely has to be played at 45. Dare I say, a quite retro sounding release by October. A really nice range of stuff there actually. Yeah, I think that one's worth getting for anyone out there who hasn't got it yet. It's by October. I'll look after that afterwards. Where are we now? We're getting close to the end. Here is one on Turbo, and it's by Acid Bitches.
I think about acid.
Okay.
Myself.
Thinking about acid.
I think about acid.
Yeah, this is the Jori Hulkkonen remix. Okay, before I go to the other inside cut, so there's the Zeta remix. Which is okay. Nice kind of rhythm to that, but the let's see. Okay, we have the Jori Hulkkonen one, which is very, very big production there. Stuff always is. Kind of maybe a slightly less celebrated producer than he should be, Jori Hulkkonen. That's his remix on it. This one is by Joski. And yeah, that's the thing with acid tracks. Even like a half decent acid track is kind of always worth having. It's just one of those things that we, if you're into the sound, you tend to just it's hard to fault it. It's just got that sound.
What I'm checking myself.
Now you could kind of take or leave the vocal there. Well, I could anyway. But the underlying track there isn't too bad. So let's see, and moving on. Now Steve Poindexter, and it's not a Work That Motherfucker or Computer Madness reissue. It's Maniac. Nice 808 sort of business there. Acid stuff. I wonder does Steve Poindexter make any new music? It's hard to know. More than likely doesn't, I suppose, if we haven't heard any of it. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm kind of a bit like that. I see something by him and I just get it really. Yeah, one or two quite nice ones off that. This one is by the Soft Moon, who are an American post-punk band, and these are remixes. This is on Aufnahme and Wiedergabe. This is the Blush Response remix. It's fairly fierce. And there's the Codex Empire remix. It's pretty distorted and aggressive as well. This is the Ancient Methods one, and like for Ancient Methods, if he's on a record somewhere, more than likely his will be my favourite one off the record. This one is pretty epic in its own way for sure. But I think it's the Phase Fatale one that I'm kind of going for more. again, it doesn't do a lot, and it's like a lot of that kind of EBM influenced techno. It doesn't do a lot, but it's all about the impact behind it. And I guess there is a fair amount of this kind of techno around now, but I don't know. It's funny. Some of the tracks just kind of catch my ear more than others. I quite like this one. Yeah, although it's the same groove, it just sounds like he's staying busy throughout it. It's like he's doing something throughout it, you know. So I kind of like that. It's kind of bubbling away the whole way. Here's one by Detroit Diesel, which is Kim Rapati, aka Mono Junk. A few of these tunes were made in the 90s. This is on Dumb Records, which is a Finnish label. And Kim Rapati is a little bit of a pioneer of the kind of early minimal sound, but did all this really great acid stuff as well, and really heavy rock and electro and stuff as well. Some of the Mono Junk stuff that's coming out now is a little bit deeper and maybe not as intense. I think this is a new one, a newer track that he made. But it's on Dumb, who are putting out records now again, because I think there was a long break where they hadn't done anything. So yeah, watch out for that. Detroit Diesel is the name of that. Here's one which I don't have in its cover at the moment, because I've been playing it a lot actually, and I tend to take them out of their covers sometimes. This one is by Monolith, and it's on Sonic Groove, which is Adam X's prized label. Rolling industrial techno beats. But it's all about not this one. This one. Reminds me a little bit of the that kind of riff that he's kind of cutting in and out there. It reminds me a little bit of one of the tracks that came out by Deepole on this label about 5 years ago. Yeah, but this is that's the one for me anyway. Next up is one by DJ Overdose. Now he goes under another name as well called Model Man. I kind of find it funny sometimes when somebody says, you know, they put up the name of the artist, aka Model Man. So it strikes me that this record was meant to be by Model Man, but it's kind of like the label wants to remind you that it's also DJ Overdose. Maybe so there's a better chance that you might buy the record. But really, you know, I think I saw this on Discogs then, and it's actually credited to DJ Overdose, when perhaps it was always meant to be credited to Model Man. So, I don't know. I see that a lot more now, actually, where both aliases are put on records, or the original name that you know the person for. But I don't know, maybe this is just the way they wanted to have it. This is my pick of my favourite of this one. What label's this on actually again? Let me just check it. Okay, so it's a bit of... Could maybe have that first one at different tempos, or a different tempo. Right, so that's that one. Moving on now. What else we got? Yeah, here's one on, is that a while ago, I think, or maybe it was earlier this year, I can't remember. It's on Marcel Detman's label, MDR. It's by a guy called Wrong Copy. Okay. It's the one I'm playing. Good kind of DJ Tool sort of track, but nice and shuffly. Lots of hi-hats up there. Now, this one is one on Moored by a producer called Progression. You may remember from using on Blueprint as well. And Bass is really firing them out on Moored. He's putting out a lot of producer stuff, and he's giving a lot of people their debut, like their. He's bringing. Well, actually, I guess there's a lot of producers on it who might have had records out before, but he's kind of bringing them to greater prominence. But there has been a few on it who it appears like maybe some of their first releases. Maybe Wire was his first release on Moored. I'm not 100%. Could have been, but certainly he's bringing up a lot of producers, and Progression being one of the newer ones. A lot of bass pressure there on that one. This is the one I think I'm playing. Good job from him. All kind of quite loopy kind of stuff, but really well produced and good for DJing with. That one's on Moored, and I'd say there's probably been a couple more. There has been a couple more out on Moored since. Now, this one is by Marcus Sukkos. This is one of my favourites of the last few months. And Marcus Sukkos is known for his more kind of minimalist Rob Hood or even truncate kind of styled tracks. But he's still kind of got his own sound. But this is quite different. And it's on Records, which is Radio Slave's label, I think. Yeah, a lovely amount of bass in this, actually. It's really nice when it drops. Yeah, great job of him. I don't even really need to play the other side. Sometimes with records like this, I'm so into one side that I barely hear the other side. I'd say a lot of other people can relate to that too. That's a nice one too, but I think it's all about the long side there. Now moving on, here is one by Richard Hinge, and this is New York Tracks 1. They kind of sound like older tracks, maybe made from a bit of time ago. Certainly in the style of the kind of late to late 90s, kind of like a cross between something maybe like Corolla, Umek, Chris Liebing, that kind of style of techno that was coming out then. But it has this kind of overlaid sort of atmosphere in there as well that you didn't necessarily get in a lot of tracks then. Yeah, nice job by him. Richard Hinge, we were talking about Dietrich Schoenmann earlier, but Richard Hinge is another old New York guy who had a label called Conrail, but he might have been better known for the stuff he did on Disco B and also the records he did on Hidden Agenda as well. I think that's how I heard of him first. But yeah, there's been quite a few New York producers of that time who perhaps get a little bit forgotten about, you know. But when you go back and you check out their discography, you see they've had some really solid records. Yeah, this is another one to add to the Richard Hinge collection. I try to use the word dark quite lightly now. I don't like to use it too much because I think it's a word that got used far too much in techno and doesn't apply to most techno. But this does have a certain kind of darkness about it. And that's a real pure kind of New York sound in techno track. Rough and just really nice catchy groove there. Spaced out kind of stuff, but yeah, just a nice pulsing New York techno groove. And Nicole, the girl who's running this label as well, has great plans for the label, and I think number 2 is going to be coming on that quite soon, which is sounding great as well. But yeah, Richard Hinge, New York Tracks number 1, that one is. Now moving on, we've got one from Amps, and this label is called Vanilla, and the first one was by Sof, who's another Greek producer. Amps is Greek as well. This is hardcore sound and techno basically, as you can hear. Yeah, proper heads down techno here. Yeah, very much made for the club and the peak time moments there. Now this one is by Zadig, and this is one that he did on Trezor. And actually, Zadig is not someone who his music that I would compare with other French producers at all. He does have his own sound. Maybe with some of his stuff it kind of sounds Jeff Mills influenced, but this one, okay, taking that away, kind of snarling bit of underlying bass there that we heard at the beginning as well, kind of reminds me a little bit of maybe like an old Vitalik tune or something like that. I'm sure it wasn't intended on his part. In fact, it kind of sounds like a cross between a few different types of tracks. But yeah, nice job by Zadig here, and it's nice to see Trezor back putting out strong techno records again. Like, they've had a fair few out over the last while. They haven't all really caught my ear, I have to say. But that one by Zadig is nice flavour. Still got a little bit of the Jeff Mills vibe coming through on it, but yeah, nice job by him. This one is by 14 Anger and Dep Effect. Yeah, that one's okay. That one seems to be the Pluck remix. Pretty fierce. He definitely knows how to make a solid kick drum. This now, I think I might have mentioned it on the show before, this label, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of old Form or Construct Rhythm kind of stuff. The kind of thing like Andreas Kramer or KD Smith or some of those guys used to do. But I think the pick here is this one. The Pluck remix is quite nice. I think this one though is for a big French warehouse, I think. This one now, I wouldn't normally don't normally play much on drum code, and this is one that came out near the end of last year actually. It's by Steve Rachmad. Obviously before drum code got more into their, I don't know, cocktails and Ibiza and all of that kind of stuff, they were putting out some proper techno, And occasionally they do put out some good stuff. But this one is by Steve Rackman, who's a good choice actually for them. I'm not sure if this is the one I was vibing off the most. Possibly wasn't that one. Let me think. Was it this? Nice little bit of panning going on there as well, which is something that you don't really hear a lot of producers do, and a lot of people don't always take those kind of risks as well when they know something's going to vinyl. But this is very nice to listen to in the headphones actually. And it's something actually that Steve Rackman hasn't always been famed for, is the kind of slightly, what would you say, the kind of the slightly more acidy kind of stuff that he does. But you might remember one cut that he did on Clockworks a year or two ago as well, which overall was an okay record, but there was one really nice acidy, sort of more acidic one on that as well. But yeah, it's the thing with Rackman, he can sometimes there's the old school type of Rackman fan who would really like him for his melodies and for his Detroit style kind of stuff that he was doing, some of which is brilliant. But he can still put out. He did his fair share of bangers as well. I think this is a little bit closer. Yeah, he's changed his sound over the years, but it's nice that he can still come back and do a half decent record. Definitely very capable, and at one stage one of the very best around. If you haven't checked his Scorp records as well, they're there's not too many of them, but try and get them all, because they were an essential series of techno that came out. And of course a lot of the stuff he did on 100% Pure as well, which was like what I was saying, some of the more Detroit influenced stuff, or just some of the more upfront club stuff that he used to do. This one is by Ontal. Ontal and Drone Lock. Now, which one? One of these is Bass's Bass Moy's remix. No, oh yeah. Oh, A2. All right, so this. I think this is Bass's remix, is it? Sure, someone out there knows. Yeah, I think that's A1 and A2. Oh shit, what am I doing? God, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, been doing this for a while. Yeah, so that's the Ontal and Drone Lock, and then here's the Bass Moy one. So all pretty fierce stuff there. And then flip it over, and you've got two Ontal tracks. Again, it's going for, and it's like a few records that I played on this before in previous shows. It's all been about the kind of the Regis influence stuff. This is, okay, you can say EBM influence, but if you look at it another way, it's very, very like what Terence Fixmer was doing in about 2001, 2002. Well, nice job. And it's been a while since the first Ontal, I think. So even though they're putting out a lot of stuff on their on other labels, it's been a little while since they did the first Ontal, since the first Ontal label release came out. So that's a nice one to have from them, with Bass's remix, of course. Now we are really near to the ends now. Where are we? We're just about there. This one is by Rays. For guys from Los Angeles, I think. Nice swingy techno groove there. Always good to have a few of these ones in your bag. Yeah, a little bit of shuffle, a little bit of danceability about this one. Never go wrong with records like that. In fact, I'd like to play that for a bit longer, but let's a classic techno sound, but certainly not one that I ever really get sick of. Maybe not a million miles away from some of the stuff Robert Hood does. Three quite usable tracks there. Let's move on now, and we really are right at the end now. Right, here we go. This one, don't know how new or old this one is. Black Carpet. Again, it's got Ontal, and I seem to play a lot of stuff by Ontal on the show. This track is by Honzo, and we played one of his earlier. It's David Carboni. And that's what it sounds like at 45. I have a feeling it might be meant at 33. Oh yeah, there we go now. Yeah, it was. I think that's one there for the fields, for sure. This one is by Stingrays. Not DJ Stingray, Stingrays. He's a Japanese producer who some of you might know from releases that he had on Sheep and Zet as well, I think, from back in the Integral days. This one is by Ontal as well, pretty distorted belting kind of one too. And this one is by Ayarkana, Italian producer who's doing good crunchy distorted techno at the moment as well. Yeah, so all the guys meaning business there for sure. That's Black Carpet is the name of that label. Number one. So where are we? Yes, we have 3 more releases to come. This one is by M Gun, and this is on Don't Be Afraid, and it's an LP that he's put out on it. M Gun has been firing out like a lot of records over the last few years. This one's certainly not as hardcore as some of the stuff I've been playing today. But it's maybe a nice way to wrap up the show actually. As we get closer to the end, some of the more dance floor stuff on this as well, I find it's a little bit more lo-fi. Like that's a little bit more straight ahead, obviously, than the one beforehand. But it seems like it's kind of saturated a little bit more, slightly hissier. Yeah, like I think some of these can obviously definitely be played out, but I think it's a really nice listening experience as well. It's I don't often tend to listen through records as much as I would like maybe a CD or something like that. I don't always just put a record on and listen to the whole thing from start to finish. But I think this one could be a rewarding listen for sure. Nice amount of deepness. Nice little textures and little sounds popping in and out. And now going on to C1. Bed and Breakfast, that one. Nice deeper electro cut there. And then finishing off. Actually, that tune is probably the cleanest out of any of the kind of 4/4 tracks on it. It's probably the cleanest, most playable one of it. It's called Veira. It's acidic atmosphere there. And then finishing it off with this one called Knobs, with no K in it, just N-O-B-S, as in hobnobs. Yeah, it's a nice one, and don't be afraid. And it's nice also that it's not slamming. There's a lot of albums now that come out, and they're albums, but they're really kind of like double packs. But that's certainly a good listening experience there. This one now, our penultimate track, is our record is from The Prodigy, and it's Paula Temple's remix of Roadblock. She's done a couple here as well. Yeah, as with a lot of her stuff, it's can get pretty scary, and she was a great candidate really to do these remixes. It was a really good combination actually, considering some of what sounds like the source material that she's used there for the remix. She's kind of done with The Prodigy what someone should have done with them for a long time, was to just really take the kind of the snarl out of what they do and really direct it in a techno direction. Yeah, she's definitely done it there, and like I said, that was a good thinking by the label. Yeah, see, this is I suppose when you remix someone like The Prodigy, or a big band like this, you do have to put their vocals in as well. Yeah, so the other side, the instrumental, really is the one. I don't know, personally, I'm sure I can speak for a few other people as well. I preferred The Prodigy when they just sampled vocals from old reggae records. I was never really too into them when they started doing their own. Yeah, this is the last one of the of this quarterly crate, and it's by a guy called Christopher Joseph. I'll flip to the other side actually, and I don't know if I even have the original cover that came in. But usually when I don't have it in its original cover, that means I've been playing it a lot. Christopher Joseph is an American producer. He's based in Berlin. He was working in the Record Loft shop. I'm not sure if he's still there, but he's been putting out some great records on his label, Flex Seal. Certainly have a kind of 90s feel to them. But a lot of the best techno does. Yeah, and then finally, this one, got a nice little intro. Something I've been using actually to open up a lot of sets recently. It's a nice intro, and then a nice banging. Start that. Track, but it's all about this. Kind of reminiscent of, kind of reminds me a little bit of old Freddie Fresh. The kind of really weird lead sounds that he would come out with. 90s Freddie Fresh. But I think Christopher has done just something all of his own here, and definitely one of my favourite releases of the year so far. Until next time, thanks a lot for getting all the way through this and listening and watching, and talk to you next time.